Alright, so this is 8/21/19, and this is Quiz 1 Study Guide. Alright, we've already talked about the vocabulary problems, so I'm going to start with number 1 in the short answer problems. And number 1 in the short answer problems, you have a couple of lines in there. And the points on those lines, you've got BCT, and then AR. It says name 2 lines in the figure. Alright? Name 2 lines in the figure. So you have to remember how to name a line. And you name a line by using 2 points on the line, right? So you've got a bunch of different options. 2 lines in the figure. You got line BC, and you've got line CR. Right? And you've got a bunch of different options. Just make sure when you're reading through your options on the quiz tomorrow that they're using 2 collinear points to name the line. Got it? Or if this was an L and this was an M, you can use 1 lowercase script letter. Say that again? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So this is a W on your paper. So this should be a W right here. Alright, so number 2. Yes, number 2. You're asked to find the length of EF. And that's segment E and F. You've got a number line. On your number line, you've got your E at -9. You got your F at -6. Okay, and you're asked to find the length. So the mathematical way to do it, this is your study guide. You're taking notes on the study guide. All right, so EF, we said yesterday, is going to be equal to the larger number minus the smaller number. When you're dealing in negatives, your larger number is the one furthest to the right on the number line. So you got -6, and you're going to subtract -9. The distance from E to F is the larger value minus the smaller value. So -6 minus -9. Okay, I don't know what you guys were taught when you're subtracting negatives, but you can either type this into your calculator or you can keep change, which turns into -6 plus 9, which is +3. So the length of EF is +3. Number 3. Name a plane that contains AC. All right, a plane that contains AC. So you've got this picture. And then you've got your 2 lines on there again. WCT. AR. Name a plane that contains line AC. So you have to remember the rules for naming a plane. The key term to naming a plane is 3 non-collinear points. 3 non-collinear points. So when you're naming this plane, you can't use 3 points that are on the same line. Understand that. So you can call it plane ACT. You can call it plane WCA. You just can't use 3 points that are on the same line. All right? So maybe put a note on your paper. 3 non-collinear. 3 non-collinear points. And highlight it, star it, whatever you got to do. Understand? Because what's going to happen is if you have 4 answer choices, you got answer choice A, B, C, and D, and each answer choice has 3 letters. Sometimes those letters start looking like each other. All right? And a lot of times the best thing to do is scratch out an answer that you know isn't right. So if one of your answer choices was WCT, let's say that answer choice A is WCT. When you're taking that quiz tomorrow, WCT, those points are collinear. So you can't use those 3 to name that plane, can you? So take that answer and just scratch it out. That's not it. It's eliminated. Then you've only got 3 to choose from. Clear? All right. Number 4. H is the midpoint of GI. H is the midpoint of GI. So we're going to draw a segment. We've got G and I at the endpoints. And it says H is the midpoint. So H is in the middle. We didn't get a chance to cover this yesterday. If H is in the middle, then GH gets a tick mark and H to I gets a tick mark. Midpoint means the middle. So G to H is the same distance as H to I. GH is 7x. H to I is 4x plus 6. Find GH, HI, and GI. So if H is in the middle and GH is equal to HI, well then 7x is equal to 4x plus 6. And then you subtract your 4x from each side. And 3x is equal to 6. You divide both sides by 3. And your x is equal to 2. That wasn't the question. The question is you need GH first. If G to H is 7 times x, then isn't G to H equal to 7 times 2? And 7 times 2 is 14. All right, so G to H is 14. H to I is 4 times 2 plus 6, which is 14 as well. And look, it's a good way to check your algebra by substituting the 2 in both sides. All right? You should get the same number when it's substituted because the 2 expressions were equal to each other. So H to I is 14. So how far is it from G to I? That's a 14 and a 14, which is a 28. All right? So there's your setup. Number 5. Now you're given the picture. So you've got an F over here. And you've got G. And H. You're told the whole thing is equal to 8x, or f to h is 8x, f to g is 6x plus 13, and g to h is 32. Find f to h. So you need f to h. We said yesterday that the two small pieces added together equal the length of the big piece. Well, the length of the big piece is your 8x. So your 6x plus 13 plus the 32 is equal to 8x. So you got to combine your like terms. You got to combine your 13 and your 32. So 6x plus 45 equals 8x. So you subtract 6x from each side. And 45 equals 2x. And divide both sides by 2. So 22.5 is equal to x. All right, but you need f to h. You need the length of the entire piece. So right here, this 8 times x, you're going to substitute. So you're going to do 8 times 22.5. And 8 times 22.5, 180. So f to h is 180 units. Number 6. Same exact type problem, just different values. Along your number line or your segment line, you got a BCD. Four x plus 8, B to C is 4x plus 8. C to D is 17. And B to D is 6x. You are asked to find BD. Same setup, 4x plus 8 plus 17 equals 6x. Combine like terms again. So your 4x plus 25 equals 6x. Subtract 4x from each side. And 25 equals 2x. And then divide by 2. $25 divided by 2 is 12.5 equals your x. So you're going to take your 6x again, and where the x is, you're going to replace it with a 12.5. So 6 times 12.5 is your B to D. That is 75. So 75 right there. Number 7 is just like number 4. It says K is the midpoint of JL. K is the midpoint of JL. So here's JL. K is the midpoint. And midpoint means middle. So we get a tick mark here and here, which means those segments are equal to each other. JK is 5x. K to L is 2x plus 3. You need to find J to K, K to L, and J to L. So if K is the midpoint and it's in the middle, then the segments are equal to each other. So 5x is going to equal 2x plus 3. Going to subtract 2x from each side. So 3x is equal to positive 3. And then you can divide by 3. X is going to be equal to 1. So J to K is 5 times 1. And 5 times 1 is 5. K to L is 2 times 1 plus 3. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 3 is another 5. So J to K is 5. K to L is 5. That makes J to L 10. Number 8, another length problem. If you've got a highlighter or something like that on this problem right now, this is a watch out problem, and I'm going to show you why. Because you got point B sitting right here, don't you? Then you got point C. You're asked to find length of BC. I'm starring this problem and telling you to highlight it because point C is not sitting on a whole number, is it? Be careful. It's sitting in between two whole numbers. Okay? So this value right here at C is negative 5.5. All right? So we said earlier, largest minus smallest. So you got negative 5.5 minus negative 8. And that's a keep, change, change. So negative 5.5 plus 8. That's 2.5. So 2.5 is the distance between B and C. Any questions there? And last but certainly not least, we got number 9. Map shows a linear section of Highway 35. Today, Veris planned to drive 360 miles from Springfield to Junction City. They will stop for lunch in Roseburg, which is at the midpoint of the trip. If they have already traveled 55 miles this morning, how much further must they travel before they stop for lunch? So look, here's what you got going on here. Let's get the picture drawn first. We've got S, which is Springfield. We got R. What do they call R? Roseburg. Roseburg is R. And Junction City is J. And from S to J is 360 miles. 360. Now, they say that Roseburg's in the middle. So that's where you take your red marker. You put a mark right here and here. That means S to R is the same distance as R to J. S to R is the same as R to J, right? So how far is it from R to J if those two distances are the same? 360 divided by 2, right? Which is 180. So this is 180 miles right here. That's 180. And this is 180. You've got this point X right here. And then you got a 55. And here's the question. If they have already traveled 55 miles, so they're at point X, how much further must they travel before they stop for lunch? Well, they're stopping for lunch in the middle, aren't they? So if they've already traveled 55 and they're at point X, aren't we trying to find this distance right here? From X to R. Well, we know that S to R is 180 because R is in the middle. It's at the midpoint. So isn't X to R going to be equal to the 180 minus the 55 that they've already traveled? Agreed? All right, so the 180 minus 55, all right, is 125 miles. Does anybody have any questions on any of the problems that we've gone over today? Yes?
We cut the 360 in half because it was half of R, right?
Cut the 360 in half because in the question it says they will stop for lunch in Roseburg, which is at the midpoint of the trip. So when you were told that R, or Roseburg, is the midpoint, it means it's in the middle. So 360, half of the 360 is 180. Good? Any other questions? Alrighty. I would define those terms now on your study guide. Get your definitions of those terms on your study guide now because you got another 15 minutes till the bell rings.